Good morning. To the Board of Commissioners, I'm going to have a Port Authority meeting today, October 26th. At this time, I would like everybody to stand. I'm going to ask Commissioner Hathaway to lead us in pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to recognize the ambassadors. Oh, thank you. The ambassadors that are here this morning. Mike Gautreaux. I made a note, but I couldn't read my note from last time, what you told me how to say. Dennis Hepburn. Robbie Roberts. Bobby Sachs. Jim Handley. And Ambassador Emeritus, former CEO, former everything, Mac McLeod. Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item is approval of the minutes of our last meeting. Chair would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Next item is personal appearance and presentation service awards. Amanda and Captain Murray.
Good morning. Okay. All right, good morning, everyone. We do have 9 employees here for service awards. They are very interesting employees as I've been reviewing their backgrounds to get ready. Our first employee is a 5-year employee, Peter Bergeron. He is the Senior Director of Public Safety and Security. He leads all the public safety and security activities through the port, as well as implementing emergency management and preparedness programs. Throughout the COVID pandemic, he coordinated port responses to determine requirements, procedures, and impact on operational resources. Peter is committed to providing direct support to cruise, cargo, recreation, and real estate lines. And a fun fact you may not know about Peter is that he is also an author. He sells Black and White Club series of novels, which are available in Amazon. Congratulations, Peter. So we have a theme here with writers, but I'll go on. It's Dietrich Dockel. Dietrich is a line handling associate. He is responsible for the safe handling of ship dock lines at the port, maintaining or repairing mooring operations equipment, and cleaning of docks and piers. Dietrich first came to the port as a landscape technician. He's a team player, and his performance is excellent. He excels in a fast-paced environment. Dietrich is also an author, and he has written a book on positivity and daily affirmations, which we all need, right? And this has been published in 3 countries, also available on Amazon. In addition to writing, he enjoys woodworking. His favorite college football team is Texas A&M. Congratulations, Dietrich. Our next honoree is Kaylee Amanda Stanley. Since joining the port, Kaylee worked in guest relations as an associate for Exploration Tower. Then she was a senior coordinator in recreation, a generalist in recreation and customer experience, and now she's a specialist in purchasing who tracks fixed assets. Kaylee is known for her great organization skills and her ability to take on multiple challenges. Her love for CPA runs in the family because her father works for the port and her mother used to work at the port. Kaylee loves spending time with her husband and their 2-year-old daughter, Emma. They love visiting St. Augustine, Disney World, and the mountains. Congratulations, Kaylee. Alyssa Gralton is not here today, right? So Robert Matson, Alyssa is in the Recreation Department. I'll just say she is in the Recreation Department. She is a GSR 2, which she was promoted to this year. She is responsible for orienting and training new employees. She enjoys going to the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm sure she's probably tied up in recreation because we're really busy over there. And Robert, I said to him, are you staying for the rest of the meeting? He said, no, I'm so busy. I got to run back to the phones. So they are very busy. So Robert is our next honoree who's present. Robert is a guest service relations #1 for Jetty Park. Now, you've probably seen Robert before because a lot of times he is at the booth. He provides excellent customer service and hospitality to tourists and local guests. Robert is often working at the booth or at the camp store. He helps guests with making and changing reservations. He's known for being kind, flexible, and a team player. Robert is an avid playwright, here we go again, and strongly supports arts and theater. His dream vacation is a trip to Australia and a visit to Sydney Opera House. Go, Robert. Next, we have Christopher Canada. Christopher is a facilities maintenance technician. He is responsible for the general maintenance and repairs on all of the CPA-owned and operated facilities. He is involved in painting, flooring, carpentry, masonry, drywall, as well as limited electrical and plumbing tasks. He's committed to customer service, safety, and he strives to help others whenever possible. In his free time, he loves to enjoy the outdoors, especially things like fishing, surfing, kayaking, and camping. Congratulations, Christopher. So those were our 5-year honorees. Now we have 10-year honorees. Marlene Sanchez is our 10-year honoree first. She is the Senior Manager of Operational Excellence and Process Improvement. In her position, she works with recreation, finance, cruise operations, and other departments. She collaborates with departments to find ways to streamline our internal processes to better serve our coworkers and external customers. She's also always happy to translate Spanish when needed, so that's very helpful to us. Originally in finance, she worked on monthly financial statements, payroll operations, and she was a part of the implementation team for NetSuites. Marlene loves visiting theme parks, reading, painting, cooking, and photography, and spending time with her children and her husband. Congratulations, Marlene. Gary Scott. It looks like Gary Scott is not here, but he is a line handling associate, and part of his responsibility is to safely and efficiently secure the dock lines. He's known for his strong work ethic, technical skills, and always being willing to jump in and help the team. He enjoys traveling, and he likes to collect and trade patches representing fire departments and first responders. So congratulations to Gary. He can watch us honor him on the video. So please join us in congratulating everyone. Thank you.
On behalf of the commission, I want to thank all of you for the jobs that you do. You are a vital part of making Port Canaveral the gem of the cruise world and the ports that it is. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Next item, commission discussion items. Consideration of approval of the 2023 commission meeting schedule. That's been presented. Any questions, any concerns? Motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Reports. Captain Murray, CEO report.
Good morning.
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 Hurricane Ian kind of messed with our schedules. I feel like I was just here yesterday. So We'll jump into it. Cruise update. I'm just going to give the update on what's coming up. Obviously, we finished the year. Through September, we had a total of 792 ship calls and 4.1 million multi-day passengers last year. So the year ended up quite successfully, considering how we started at the tail end of the pandemic. Coming up, we've got a number of ships between now and our next board meeting. The Carnival Magic returns on October 31st for the winter season. It'll be the 4th Carnival ship in the port. Jewel of the Seas arrives on November 6th. That'll be the 4th Royal Caribbean ship for the winter season. Wonder of the Seas arrives on November 13th. It will be replacing the Harmony of the Seas. And just to remind everyone, the Wonder of the Seas is the largest and newest ship in the Royal Caribbean fleet. It's the largest ship in the world today. So she'll be with us not just for the winter season, but for the next couple of years. The Norwegian Escape returns on November 19th, and even though this is after our next board meeting, the Norwegian Prima arrives on December 11th. That's a brand new vessel that's just delivered in August timeframe, and we'll have her for the winter season this year. So exciting updates and additional vessels that will be calling the port. On the cargo side, we had 553 ship calls in the year. We had record cargo revenue, $14 million, and tonnage of 6.6 million. Notable recent discharges, we had the Hellas Stream and Italia Stream discharge dry goods and canned vegetables destined for local retail stores. We also welcomed the largest tanker in Port Canaveral history, the MVC Sapphire, discharged 10 million gallons of jet fuel. This is just since the last meeting. We also, since Ian, have noted that there's been a 20% increase in gasoline deliveries since Ian. So that's increased our gas throughput at the port. And the last point is the Donald M. James discharged 53,000 metric tons of granite for the Brightline project. And just to make sure everyone understands that granite is the rock that's on the rail track that holds the track in place. And we orchestrated this down from Canada. It was coming out of Georgia, but the delivery wasn't going to make the timeline for Brightline, and we were able to help them get the cargo from another area so they could finish the project on time. On the communications update, we've got the State of the Port coming up on Wednesday, November 9th at CT3. That was originally at CT1, but we moved it to CT3 for parking considerations. CT1, if you look at the parking lots over there, they're pretty full right now. Propeller Club luncheon will follow immediately after at Fish Lips. On November 13th at Jetty Park from 3:30 to 5:30, we'll have a wave out for the Wonder of the Seas after her first call. We're coordinating that with the Royal Caribbean sales team, and the traditional tug escort and water cannon salute will be there as well. And more info will be on the port's social media. I also want to remind everyone that Toys for Tots annual toy collection is underway. We've already got, I believe Troy told me, 6 bicycles already delivered. So we're off to a good start this year, and are accepting deliveries at Santa's Workshop at 399 Challenger Road until mid-December. That's once again for Toys for Tots. On the recreation, Jetty Park has been quite busy. It's been open for 44 launches in 2022. Daily average of 250 vehicles. Campground occupancy is 56%, which is normal for this time of year. We just hosted the FSFA Fishing Clinic on October 22nd. Upcoming events, we have another Artemis attempt. This one's at close to midnight, if my memory is correct, on November 14th. And on November 16th, we got Recycling on the Go at Jetty Park. It's part of Florida Recycles Week, November 14th to the 18th. And we're partnering with Florida Recycling Partnership Foundation, FDEP, and Florida Ports Council. On public safety, drafting Hurricane Ian after action report. We had a meeting last week with all of the marina operators to follow up with the Coast Guard and the port, and what went well, what didn't go well, and we have a new flow chart that everybody's got. And I think we had, and I mentioned at the last meeting, maybe some communication issues, but I think we have those ironed out now, so it will not be an issue in the future. We also attended the East Coast Security Directors Conference up in Savannah. Tomorrow, actually, we're hosting Society for Gases and Marine Fuel. It's an international organization. We are the host tomorrow at CT1, and people will be flying in from around the world. And it's an organization that we've been on the board for the last 4 or 5 years, and fortunate. I think this is the second time we've hosted it here. But because we have 2 natural gas-powered ships in the port now, it makes us a location that's one of their preferences. We're also planning underway, as I mentioned, for the Artemis launch on the 14th, and our public safety team's working on a mass rescue operation tabletop exercise with the Coast Guard. And that is my report, short and sweet. Any questions?
Could you expand a little bit on, on the LNG fueling, how we progressed into being more flexible, given the situation up in Savannah, the costs and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I can highlight that a little bit. You know, what's happened with the situation in Russia and Ukraine, the gas lines to North Europe, which is very much sustains itself on natural gas, have been disrupted. And as a result, the export out of the United States has increased significantly. And it's driving the export price of gas much higher than the domestic supply side, just because of the push to get it to Europe. That's changed some of the operations where we're also now working with Shell and the Mardi Gras and Carnival to bring the fuel in, fuel the barge alongside the dock, and then the barge transfers it to the ship a few days later. I don't know if this is something we'll be doing long term, but we're doing it near term just because of the supply and demand of the gas. And the domestic gas right now is more economical to purchase. And I don't know the pricing or anything because that's all with Carnival and Shell. But it's just updated our operations, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's great, and just appreciate all the port
it's-
partners having to get together.
All of our partners are together. I mean, it's whenever we do anything, it involves fire department, Coast Guard, all of our partners, BCSO, and we do it right. So that's the
Thanks.
best I can say. Thanks.
Thank you, Captain Murray. Next item is consideration of accepting the financial memo for September 2022. Mr. Poole.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
So we have a full year of revenues that we can report to you. At the last meeting, I reported the numbers for the first 11 months, and at that point, I think we were at 116 million. We budgeted 110 million, and we said that September was looking very strong as well. So let's give a final look back in how we did for the whole year. So for the year, we budgeted 109 million. We came in at 128 million. That's almost 19 million above budget. On expenses at $97 million, we came in 179,000 below budget. For the month itself, revenues at 11 million was 2 million above budget. 58 cruise calls, 386,000 passengers that we'll be discussing. Cargo, again, very strong, over 460,000 tons. You've seen the main segments of our business there. I'm starting to report limestone and granite in there as well, instead of just fuel and lumber and slag, as I've done in the past. It's an important segment of our business. And there you'll see that here, all segments of our business were, for the month itself, 11.4 million. All came in above budget except recreation. Now, let's look at the, in comparing it to the total budget at 109 million, you know, of our 6 segments, it's really 5 segments of business: cruise and cargo, leases, recreation, and miscellaneous. So the 5 segments of our business all came in above budget for the year. If you look at that 128 million, that's comparing it to budget. If you compare it to prior years, I'm not going to do that because the numbers are just very distorted, right? This is a full year of uninterrupted business. Last year, we only had 2 months of cruise. That was FY21, and FY20 we had 5.5 months of cruise activity. So a real good comparison benchmark to compare to would be FY19, last full year of uninterrupted cruise activity. We finished that year at 106 million. So comparing it now, a couple years to the right, apples to apples comparison, 128 million. So it's a sizable increase there. So it's roughly $21.5 million. And it's mainly of our 2 big segments of our business. Cruise, of that 21.5 million, cruise is up $17 million year over year, FY19 to FY22. Cargo as well, $4.5 million. And that's been shown in the monthly statistics that we report to you. So cargo and cruise, both exceeding where we were, you know, compared to FY19. Now, cruise by itself, it came in at 99 million. We budgeted 84 million. That's almost 15 million above budget. 792 home ported, porta calls, technical calls, all calls were 792. That's 4.1 million passengers. It's exactly what we budgeted. Now, if you fast forward a year, if you recall in FY23, we're budgeting 154 million in revenues and about 909 ships, home ported and porta call ships, and 5.8 million passengers. So we're very bullish for FY23 as compared to FY22. This shows you here, this chart here on a month-by-month basis, 385,000 passengers in the month of September. Really just look from March through September, the last 7 months of the year, we were always exceeding 300,000 passengers, and our lowest month was like 340,000 passengers in the month of June. So you can see that it was in this time period as well that we had like 10 consecutive weeks of every week having 100,000 passengers come through our port. So very strong. This just shows you here, we budgeted 4.13 million. We came in at 4,071,000, so right on budget. Cargo, it's in dollars, it's 18.5 million. John just reported 14 million. I also combine, in addition to those port fees that John is talking about, wharfage, dockage, mine handling, I combine the port rent that those tenants pay. That's $4.5 million. So that's why I report cargo revenue at 18.5 million. But that just truly shows you the impact and the importance that cargo tenants play to this port at $18.5 million. Compared to budget at 15 million, that's 3 million above budget, 6.6 million tons. That is 1.4 million or 26% above prior year. And why? It's fuel, it's lumber, but this on this slide, it's also granite. I wanted to show that this month as well. Granite at 614,000 tons is 126,000 tons above prior year. So those three main segments of our business is what is driving us being 26% above prior year and $3 million above budget. Last three segments of our business, leases, recreation, miscellaneous revenues, which mainly is our commercial vehicle fees, you can see are all above budget. So what does that mean? That almost $19 million in percent equates to 17%. Let's get to the expense side here. We budgeted 97.4 million. We have 97.2 million actually spent. We came in 179,000 below budget. And what I've shown here is the after we did some department-to-department transfers, we had 10 departments that had some budget overages that we needed to cover. Those transfers that the board authorized John at the January meeting that he could enact those department-to-department transfers. We did that. It's part of your package that we're asking for the acceptance. When you accept these financial statements, it's the income statement, it's the balance sheet, and it's those department-to-department transfers that we made, $1.8 million that we took from two departments, administrative services being the majority of it. So this sheet shows you those transfers that were made. And as you know, the board authorized by Florida statutes, as long as we came in, actual expenses came in, the total authorized budget amount of $97,440,000. You gave John the ability to do those transfers. Every one of the 5 board members, those transfers were presented to them individually when we did our individual briefings, and we went into detail with John, with the board members, on the reason for any of the overages.
We don't need to specifically approve that.
No,
by
ma'am.
motion. Okay.
No,
just making
thank
sure.
you. It's just, yes. Well, when you accept
Accepting
the
the
financial
amendment.
statements, those transfers, we ask for the
Accepting them.
acceptance. Yes.
Okay.
We thought there's a motion to accept them.
Yeah. So when you ask for the, when we ask for the motion to accept, if it could be for the income statement, the balance sheet, and the budget transfers.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. So to summarize our year as a whole, revenues came in at 128 million. We spent 97 million in expenses. That generated a positive operating income of $30 million. Our non-op revenues of $42 million. That's that American Rescue Plan Act money that we get reimbursed on a monthly basis. That was $42 million. Non-operating expenses of $12 million, that's the interest on our debt, produces an income before capital contributions of $60 million. And then we also show the change, the capital contributions from our grants that results a change in a net position, and that then ties into our comprehensive annual financial report that the auditors will be reviewing in the next couple of months. That's it, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hadaway. If
I would
there's any
entertain a motion to
questions-
accept the financial memo reports that have been presented by Mr. Poole.
I'll move to approve the financial memo, including the income statement and balance transfers for fiscal year '22, and move to approve the list of disposals, legal bills, commissioner expenses, and again, move to accept the statistical report, aging report, and list of bills for September 2022.
And do we have a second?
Second?
Did I get that right?
Yes. Okay, it's been moved and seconded, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, you're accepted and approved.
Question, Mike. Could you expound just a little bit on the COVID money and, you know, the non-operating money that we got? We didn't get quite as much as we thought we were going to get this year, but it continues to next year. Can you just comment on that a little bit?
Yes, Commissioner Justice. So of the $72 million, we're receiving it approximately over a 3-year period. $15 million in FY21, $42 million in FY22, the balance in FY23. And what you're referring to on our individual briefings, I noted that, you know, we budgeted almost $49 million in non-operating revenues. 48 million of that would be this ARPA funding. When I forecasted a year ago, I thought we'd be requesting reimbursement of about 4 million a month. Turns out it was about 3.4 million a month. So we were $600,000 under each month on what I forecast that we would be drawing on a monthly basis. $600,000 a month is $7 million for the year. That's why it's showing as a negative variance. It's not lost money. We'll just collect that money in FY23.
Okay, thanks.
On your item 2A, rather than pulling that, would you just comment briefly as far as what we're doing there?
Yes, Commissioner Hadaway, absolutely. So that is a line of credit that we've had since 2015 with PNC Bank, and it expires on December 15th of this year. We're asking for a renewal of it, and it will be a 3-year renewal, so it'll go out till December of 2025, and it's for $30 million. So it's an existing line of credit. We have some outstanding funds drawn against it. It's bridge financing related to Cruise Terminal 3 that we're doing a rapid pay down on it. So it's not new debt.
Thank you. That's what I like to hear.
There you go. Not new debt. It's an existing line of credit that we're just asking to renew.
And what is the outstanding balance now?
It's currently $24 million.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think that, good report. Everything looks rosy. We could say happy days are here again with the money coming in. Next item is the October 2022 capital project update. Mr. Crowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm going to start off with an overview of the Terminal 1 carpet replacement project. If you recall, we kicked that off at the meeting that we had earlier this month on the 5th of October, and there's an image of the new carpet in place, so they're making great progress. We will likely be completed by the end of this month with that carpet replacement. Our target was November 13th originally. They started with demo, then placement of that green adhesive, and then the carpet tile. This is a shot of the former carpet, and just as a reminder of the wear and tear it was showing. And here's a very similar perspective of the new carpet tile and the new LVT for the walkway, that gray luxury vinyl tile. So it looks really nice and it cleans up those areas. I think one of our final steps is to get back into the cruise line offices and make sure we've replaced all the carpet in their individual offices as well. So very good improvement on that guest experience. Again, we're going to be done with the project by November 13th in time for the arrival of the Wonder of the Seas. Moving on to North Cargo Berth 3, great progress is being made by Rush Marine. And this photo demonstrates, as we've been talking about, that the A-frame piles and the A-frame cap have been completed for some time. You see these little concrete pile tops sticking up. Those go down about 110 feet. So all 356 of those are completed. The contractor's been focused on the combi wall completion. That is the combination wall. All those rebar groups sticking up, those are all of the individual king piles that have been driven. This photo is by now a week and a half old. So all these sheet pile pairs have now been driven. The contractor is nearing completion of that new bulkhead, and that's the final wall between sea and land interface. The remaining steps for this project are completion of 2 more monopile dolphin. That's going to go out in this area. These are 84-inch diameter piles, so very robust, very large pieces of pipe. Contractor's got 2 more to install, and then there's going to be a connecting aluminum catwalk back to shore for line handling. And you can see in the background, very large fuel tanker sitting high in the water, and it's tied off within the limits of the hull. So it's got that stern ramp going to a bollard on North Cargo Pier 2. And once these new dolphins get placed, it's really going to improve our harbor safety and our line handlers' capability for tying off large ships at North Cargo Pier 1 and 2. So very excited about that. Moving on, the next major milestone for our contractor is going to be dredging. And in order to accomplish dredging for the project, they've got to install the threaded rod tieback system. That system is fairly simple in nature, just all of the components are very large. The couplings, the threaded rods are like 3.5-inch diameter. And they span from each of these individual king piles back to, and they thread through precast 6-inch PVC pipes through that A-frame cap with a washer and a nut on the back side. So very simple, but just very large washers, very large components again. So once that system is completely tied back to the A-frame, then they'll be able to complete the dredging water side of the new combi wall. The mud line water side of that wall is about minus 20 right now, and we're going to dredge it to minus 43. So there's over 100,000 cubic yards of material that we need to pull out of that berth and dispose of in the offshore permitted disposal area. Completion of that tieback system and then the initiation of dredging, we anticipate that that will take place at the very end of this calendar year or early January of 2023. And that puts us in great position to meet our completion date in April 2023. So very excited about getting that project wrapped up and what it means for our cargo capabilities. Moving on to the mobile harbor crane purchase, which will also augment our cargo material handling capability. That was kicked off at the August commission meeting. Purchase price is $7.4 million. The delivery is now for the end of, or has been for the end of calendar year 2023. So still several months away to take delivery of that new crane. Just a quick side-by-side comparison of our existing LHM 600 and the new. The existing one's an Evo 5, the next generation's Evo 6, and there's a myriad of improvements. I'm going to cover some of the physical differences, but also within the cab, they've relocated the HVAC system, whereas previously it was known to blow on the back of the necks of the operators. They've actually wisely moved that HVAC system underneath the seat, so all the heating and air will emanate from underneath the seat. And it had a very large, complicated control panel that was buttons and switches. That's now been upgraded to a human-machine interface, a touchscreen, HMI. So really excited about those new improvements as well. We'll have sufficient or substantial training of all operators in the month prior to arrival of the new crane. And so George Arocha in the cargo department's coordinating that training with Lee Bear out of Miami. Their new training, and I'm off on a tangent here, but the new training is now a VR headset. So they sit in the cab and no longer look at a screen here and a screen there and a screen to the right. They now have full 360 view using a VR headset, still the same controls, emulating what they'll experience in the new crane, but it's all VR. So a couple highlighted differences is the overall height of this crane is actually taller. It's about 18 feet taller at the very, very tip of the boom. When we say it's at minimum outreach, so when the boom is at its max incline, it's about 18 feet taller. The boom itself is 10 feet taller. And so the mast makes up the difference. It is substantially heavier, and there's a reason why. It's like 74 some tons, 76 tons heavier, and it has additional axle sets. So you can see the axle sets in the rendering here. Each axle set has 4 tires. So these are standard semi-truck tires, which was one of the interesting features of this crane when we need to replace tires, they're just off the shelf, semi-truck tires. So each axle set's got 4 tires. We go from 104 on the Evo 5 to 128 tires to spread the weight of the new crane on the new Evo 6. The biggest difference in the weight is that Liebherr made a change in the manufacturing efficiency. So what you have on the right is our new chassis. And this is a bird's eye view with the crane superstructure removed. So that's what they call the slewing platform, where the crane machinery pivots. And you can see that there's less obtrusion of the axle sets in the front and behind the crane. So they're kind of spread wider, but they're more compact. So that allows, from an operations standpoint, for them to pick and set heavier loads right in front of the crane chassis. And the manufacturing efficiency is this is actually the identical chassis as the big sister crane, the LHM 800. So the 600 and 800 now have the same chassis. It's heavier, but once the outriggers are deployed, it's the same pressure on our dock and same capability, 154 tons. So, pardon me for geeking out a little bit there on the interesting crane aspects. And most importantly, it's got a new paint job. So if you're ever out there on the dock and you want to tell the new from the old, the new paint scheme and graphics approach have this white band at the lower part of the operating cab, and the existing crane's all blue. So very excited to take ownership and put that new crane to work. A brief update on the flyover bridge, just to keep everybody informed. We've issued that purchase order through our system, and we're in the process of working through coding submittals with our contractor, W&J, and they will begin work shortly. It's still going to take over 2 months to complete the new coding of this. Is the 401 flyover bridge that goes from the Northside Cruise Terminals over 401 back onto 401, not to be confused with the DOT operated and maintained Bascule Bridge. So that's not our bridge. This is our bridge. We inspect it every couple years. It needs to be repainted. So we'll have some daytime lane closures as they progress work across 401, but that'll be all coordinated with BCSO through our own public safety and security group. Moving on to Exploration Tower repairs, I'm sure all of you have seen the scaffolding that's being erected on the southern face of that building, and we're really excited to see the progress. NRG Cladding, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Ken Pat, is just doing a great job. We have access to all their inspection reports on a daily basis. We get updates of photos. We see the results of their testing procedures, and it's really good to see them off and running on that critical repair for the port. There's a shot of the scaffolding from earlier this week, and it's grown even beyond there. They're supposed to be topped out with that scaffolding by the end of this week. And then there will be a screen that gets hung on the outside. The screen has obviously got the contractor's logo, NRG Cladding, but it also has Port Canaveral logo and several scenes of the Exploration Tower, just to cover and hide the scaffolding and the Protecto wrap, which is the underlayment underneath the metal skin of that facade. It's sensitive to UV rays, so we want to keep it covered. And that scaffolding will be up for about 3 months, about 90 days. So we're looking to have that down sometime in January. And once the scaffolding's down, it looks like we'll be able to return to commercial operations out of the tower. So we're targeting sometime in January. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. Are there any, when they lift the panels off, is there any hazardous material that's being dealt with as well?
We have been monitoring those tests and photos, and we are all surprised to see that we have not discovered any lingering moisture intrusion conditions that we expect to see. So we're going to continue to observe that, but to date we have not seen moisture intrusion damage.
Good to hear.
Yeah, which is very good to hear. What we still have yet to lay eyes on, and this photo really does a good job of demonstrating it. As they're erecting this scaffolding, they are removing some panels as they go up, in order to the scaffolding components actually penetrate through the outer skin of the building, not the metal panels, but the underlayment, and attach to the internal building structure. So as we remove these panels in their entirety, we'll be able to get a closer look at an annular void space of about 8 inches that exists between the outer exterior wall that you see and the interior drywall that we're all used to seeing at the third floor where the surfboard display is, and then on the 4th floor when we'd have meetings there, and there's several mechanical rooms that also sit on that exterior wall. When we look at the exterior wall from the inside of the tower and look at the exterior wall from the outside of the tower, there's an 8-inch annular space there that we still need to lay eyes on. We've gotten little glimpses of it as we've penetrated through with these supports and have seen nothing so far, which is a great sign, but we'll continue to monitor that situation. One thing I do want to note here is we did discover some leaking that appears to be coming from an internal cast iron roof drain system, which several of us were kind of puzzled why it wasn't installed PVC originally back in 2012. And the roof drain system that we've been observing is actually on the 4th floor. If you recall, there's a little patio when you walk out on the 4th floor, and it has pavers on it, and those pavers are slightly elevated, and there's a drainage system underneath there, and that drains back into the building, back towards the elevator shaft. So those cast iron pipes are rusted, and we're investigating our possibilities to replace those with PVC, something that's more anti-corrosive. So good progress being made on that. Again, anticipated final completion of the exterior and interior repairs is looking for February, probably late February 2023, and the scaffolding should be down sometime in January, and I think that's going to be a good point for us to talk about restoring operations of the tower. Before I go on, any other questions on what I presented? So just going to give you that overview around the port. Going to start with some cruise projects. Terminal 10 canopy replacement. We kicked that off at earlier this month's meeting, and that is located here. So we've issued that purchase order to BEA, our design consultant, and they're in the process of starting that analysis of the existing structure and looking towards what the permanent canopy fix is going to be for that facility. So really, we had some more damage from Hurricane Ian. More of the fabric canopy was ripped off. So we're keen on getting that project fast tracked. We'll do the design. We will hard bid it out, competitively bid it out. So we'll likely, once we complete design, we'll come back to you sometime in late spring or next summer with the award for what that project's going to be.
What is the time frame for the design?
It's like 90 days, and then there's permitting effort involved in that. So we'll be pushing them to get that done. Hopefully in the early spring, we'll be able to release a bid package on that. Yep.
And otherwise, the next hurricane season comes and we haven't got it.
That will be our target, is to get the project completed by, if not the very start of hurricane season next year, certainly once we're into the more heavy months of, August and certainly September, to have the project completed. So we've also talked about Terminal 1 gangway repairs. We're waiting on those cylinders to be delivered at the end of this calendar year and installed in January. That's the first round of the first 7 cylinders. Then we'll continue to do that rinse and repeat. Well, we rebuild each set of cylinders, reinstall. Ultimately, we'll end up with fully rebuilt cylinders and a set of 7 spares on the shelf for a future change-up. Terminal 1 flooring repair, we talked about that. It's going very well. On the cargo side, North 3 gave you an overview of our excellent progress being made on that. North 4 is under design, wrapping up design. I know we're waiting to hear back from MARAD on the PIDP grant application that we had for that project. North Cargo 5 fender replacement, still waiting on some critical fender components that it continues to be a challenge to take delivery of those fender components, but as soon as they're in, we'll have those fender replacement components installed. South 1 and 2 and CT2 pier rehab. We had to cancel that bid. We received 3 bids, competitive bids. One was disqualified due to a non-standard fender that was specified in their bid. The other 2 were over our budget. Our budget's like $3.2 million. I think they came in at 4.2 and 4.3. So we're in the process of rebidding that project, and December 7th meeting, we should come back to you with a recommendation for award of that rebid project. So I think that's going to give us a great opportunity to get even more competition in our bid process. We talked about the new crane purchase. Going to move into general port projects. The berth box O&M dredging, I got a separate slide on that. The 401 bridge painting we talked about. The aerials, we should have a draft of that image hopefully by the end of this week or early next. It's the digital image of the new aerial, and then production of the various hard copies you see around the port will follow after that. So we're really excited to get our hands on the new aerial, and it did capture all 6 ships in on that particular day. It was post storm, So weather was perfectly clear, and we had a lot of ships in port doing ship turns right after that storm. And recreation projects, Jetty Park Camp Store, moving forward with that design, and exploration tower repairs we discussed, and Rodney Ketchum Boat Ramp. We got some really interesting options to do the renovation and repair of the Ketchum Park Boat Ramp, and we're currently considering those options via the available budget in our FY23 capital budget. Go ahead, sir.
Could you just comment on we had expected a certain amount of funding, didn't happen.
Correct.
So we've changed that camp construct a little bit.
That is correct. And Captain Murray, feel free to weigh in, but I know that grant funding did not get authorized, and so it did not get received. It is a wooden structure, and we have concerns that if we were to, sink port funds into the renovation of that structure, we could, see even more damage in future storm events. So the approach to the camp store is solid block, just like the bait and tackle shop, very robust, meets modern wind loads, and it seems like a wiser investment to right-size that camp store at this point. So there's still a lot more discussion to happen on the pavilion. John, feel free to weigh in. Okay. Thank you for that question. Moving on our O&M project, it's a little bit hard to picture this, so I wanted to create size and scale so that everybody could get an idea of what we're doing. And Bob Musser, our Senior Director of Environmental, is doing a great job of working with the Corps and our consultant in-house for the permitting effort involved, which is extensive. The sampling and testing and permitting, it takes months to get through this. So O&M dredging for the port is divided up into 12 different cuts. And you see those 12 cuts represented here by those green boxes. And the amount of material that we're looking to remove is just under 250,000 cubic yards. That's going to be permitted, sample tested, and permitted to go into our offshore disposal area. And we are targeting piggybacking on the Corps' next round of O&M dredger that's going to mobilize into the port, we believe, June, July, sometime early to mid next summer. And a couple of really interesting studies that have come out of this process are highlighted here. So these two areas highlighted in orange, or pink rather, I should say, highlight potential deepening of existing cargo berths. So these would be new cuts. These wouldn't be O&M. So you see highlighted in the left-hand side of the photo that's North Cargo Berth 8. We just built that berth. We designed the bulkhead to go down to minus 43. We dredged it to 35 because that's what the adjacent seafloor was dredged to. So we could only access what the access approach was dredged to. However, deepening that berth to the minus 43 plus 2, that plus 2 is always the over depth when that clam bucket removes material. So we got that little allowance of over depth. So 43 plus 2 is what the wall was designed for, and really we're gonna initiate a study that would sample that material and really put a cost estimate to what it would take to get down to minus 43 at North 8. And also North Cargo Pier 1 and 2, we highlight that as a potential. That berth and pier date back to the 70s. In the 80s, we installed a tow wall that allowed us to dredge to minus 41 in front of North Cargo Pier 1 and 2. We're going to be working with one of our consultants, Jacobs, to do some landside geotechnical analysis, some further investigation, and apply modern computer modeling techniques to identify, how deep we can actually go in front of that berth. So those designs that date back to the 70s had very, very conservative estimates for factors of safety. We're still going to make it robust, solid structure, but we're going to take a closer look and see how much more we can increase the depth in front of North 1 and 2. And that is a key berth for us. We have a lot of deep tankers and bulk carriers that come in at North 1 and 2. And that's my update. Just let me know if you have any further questions. Yes, sir.
Yes, just instead of calling and pulling 1A, could you just talk for a minute about we've got a current challenge on another boarding bridge.
Sure.
And tie it into what this maintenance project's going to do, maintenance contract's going to do.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it might not be well known, but Cruise Terminal 6, we have two existing Delta passenger boarding bridges. The westernmost bridge last weekend had a failure in one of its systems that when the wheels get out of alignment with each other, and I'll talk about a wheel bogey, and a wheel bogey is at the base of each of the four legs, it's got a set of four wheels. And those wheels turn independently of each other, they can. So the front two wheels of the bogie were turned in a direction. The rear two wheels were still driving straight. The bridge has a system that should shut it down at that point. It should not be able to operate. However, that system failed. The bridge is 10 years old, and we have a lot of just corrosion that happens with connections and wiring and sensors. And so we have an effort to investigate the failure, what went wrong, and we're going to correct that. But as the bridge moved about 20 feet, that leg moved inward and twisted. So we ended up with bent steel. Nobody was on the bridge. It was our operators just moving it into position. And we've been able to successfully stage the bridge and support it with the same supports that they use to mount the shuttle up at the visitor center at Kennedy Space Center. So very robust system that we have for support under that bridge. So we are able to use it in its stable location. And we're in the process of, between ships, we're going to have to jack it up and we're going to correct the bent and twisted leg. We've got to replace a couple of steel components, add some additional supports. And we're really pleased with the response we got out of Adelte, the OEM manufacturer, and actually Ivy's came out as well using some rental support equipment from Bio Brothers. And that partnership really saved a lot of operational capability for us.
Great, thanks.
And item 1A is another 3+2 individual year extension of the PM contract for Adelte.
For maintenance purposes.
For maintenance purposes, preventative maintenance, that's correct. Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Bill and his project update? Okay. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
Next item is public comment on the consent agenda. I don't think there are any. So I'll start with Commissioner Lloyd. On the consent agenda, any items you wish to pull?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Markey,
None, sir.
Commissioner Hadaway,
None.
Commissioner Justice.
My question has been answered, thanks, none.
Okay. Then the chair will entertain a motion to approve consent item 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, and 4A.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The public comment, we have one card. Sean Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to come here today. It's been a few months since I've had an opportunity to appear before you, and thank you for the great job you've done. The financial report and everything today, I think the chairman said it best. Happy days are here again, and we're replenishing the money that we drew down during the pandemic under your great stewardship in terms of keeping the port running firm. So, you know, I know you only hear from the complainers. I think it's important to hear from those of us, which I consider the majority of folks out there that really appreciate the work you do, how impactful this port is to the economy of the whole region. So I just wanted to do that. Also, back in June, I wore my Avalanche shirt. I'm a big Colorado Avalanche fan, and I will put on for Captain John my 2022. But I wanted to come today and make a presentation to Captain John of the 2021 Stanley Cup Championship. Because hockey season has begun, and we both hope that our two teams, respectively, will be back in the Stanley Cup Finals, and we'll have a redo from last year. So, Mr. Chair, with your permission, I would like to present
Certainly you have
this.
my permission.
I was going to do it earlier, but you're going to have to tell.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes the public comment. Next item is Commissioner's Report, and I'll start off. As probably everybody knows, this is Commissioner Hadaway's last meeting. And for my part, I want to thank Commissioner Hadaway for her help here at the port, her knowledge, her insight, the contributions that she's made to the operation of the port in general, as well as on the financial side. On my part, I wish her the best in whatever future endeavors she might decide to go to, besides practice law, which it's a full time, but certainly her willingness to give public service has been well received by us. And again, I personally thank her for everything that she has done on behalf of the port.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lloyd, do you have any comments?
No, it's been a pleasure serving with you, and I'm glad that we've had this opportunity. So thank you for all your service.
Thank you.
Commissioner Markey?
I wish to echo those comments. Commissioner Hadaway really is a committed public servant. She worked hard at her job, so I hope she continues in that vein.
Thank you.
Commissioner Justice?
I've got a couple other things to say, but you want to say some things, right? I'm sure.
Yes,
We-
I've asked to go last if you don't mind. So
Yeah, okay. Well, okay, first and foremost, I want to echo the same comments. Thanks
Thank you.
for all the hard work here. Just a couple things. I want to take a minute to thank some of our partners here. This last couple of weeks, we had the Rockledge High School, we, the Propeller Club at the port, have worked hard with the Rockledge High School HELM, that's the Helping Educate Leaders in Maritime program, where there's 80 first-year students, 20 second-year students, and 20 juniors and seniors. We've got well over 100 students. They all came out, spent 2 days at the port. They did boat rides from the pilots, from the fireboat, the BCSO, Coast Guard. Everybody stepped up and gave an experience. They got tours of cargo berths, cargo ops in action. So all of you, staff and port partners who helped this, and this is we've been doing this for years now, program, well over 100 students. The students in this program, when they finish, they take a test, they have a license in logistics, and they can actually get a job when they graduate high school. And this port has stepped up and really made it a quality program that obviously the county schools think a lot of and continue to fund it and support it. So thanks to everybody for that. I just want to, looking ahead, this next month we've got the joint military attaché guys coming back again. And I want to underscore again the state of the port and also the Propeller Club luncheon. We've got a veteran event, as we do because it's Veterans Day that week. So that's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I have a presentation to make to Commissioner Hadaway. On behalf of the Port Commissioners, the staff of the Port Authority, again, for your contribution and your assistance and your effort for the port, we'd like to present this updated photo
I love
of the
it.
port and well wishes to you.
Thank you. Can't wait to hang it at my office. Thank
Okay.
you.
And after the meeting, there is a cake and perhaps some other refreshments for all of you to engage in.
Thank you. That was unexpected. The last 4 years have been not at all what I expected. When I think my first briefing, Mike Poole said, "Don't worry, cruise is recession-proof." And since then, we've been through an international pandemic, and we've come out stronger and grown in the process. We've added a cruise terminal and approved an aquarium, and just amazing things have come out of this last 4 years. I'm a little disappointed in staff that there wasn't a little more pizzazz on this agenda, like a copier contract. We couldn't do better. But it has been an honor and a privilege. I'd like to thank Captain Murray, Mike, Bill, and Melanie especially, and all the staff for making us smarter and better and helping us do our jobs. And thank you to the ambassadors for their insights and their mentorship. It's meant a lot. A lot of you, I've really developed a personal relationship, and you've supported the Junior Port Ambassador Program. And I really hope that you'll continue to do that, because I think it's a great way to connect with our community and serve our port partners. To the gentlemen of the commission, it has been a pleasure and an honor to serve with all of you. It is easy to take for granted what we have here. If you sit through city council meetings or county commission meetings in our county or others, you realize how good we have it here. And even when we disagree, the civility and the professionalism is something I'm really proud of, and I'm honored to have worked with all of you. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And Robert, I might say, sometimes we like to do things that are sort of not expected. Just to keep you guessing.
Jerry keeps us
Not
on our
just you.
toes.
Right, that's right. That concludes the meeting. The next meeting, there will be no meeting in November. The next meeting is December 7th at 9 o'clock. Meeting adjourned.